This week in comic books, we're going to talk about relationships, like what's it like to be a ward of the state or a foster child, and like having your natural son there and everybody having to work together in Boy Wonder. And Marvel, I'm just going to tell you, I got a lot of Marvel for you. It's Skottie Young month. My wife wants those covers, which means I got to read them. So we're just going to go through those real quick. And an independent Space Ghost, and why I'm really digging this. And Scarlet kind of took an unusual turn, and I want your opinions about it. So let's jump into these comic books. But first, as always, I have to try to sell you some coffee. That's the deal here. Hey, what's going on, folks? This is your boy Pocan Joe to talk to you about Coffee Brand Coffee. We serve people that are tired of gimmicky advertising and branded companies that want to lecture you. At Coffee Brand Coffee, all we want to do is serve you freshly roasted coffee wherever you're at, whenever you want it. Consider Coffee Brand Coffee. Check us out, check our reviews out, and use promo code POCANJOE or the link down in the description to save yourself some money. Give me the opportunity to get you a delicious cup of coffee. Alright, you wonderful weirdos, let's just jump right into it. Let's talk about The Boy Wonder. This is issue 2. Of course, I went with this cover. It's kind of weird, right? And it kind of matches a lot of the artwork that's actually in this book. It's really interesting. I'm really enjoying this as we kind of get this narrative. So we have a hostage, and she's telling her holder these particular types of stories. He's young, he was down on his luck, he tried to rob a bank, it ain't working out for him. So she tells him stories, which is basically Damien and Jason Todd and Grayson and the whole 9 yards. And in this particular issue, we talk about the Hood, the Red Hood. And we talk about his relationship, not only with Batman, but also his relationship with Damian Wayne. And this is kind of weird because Damian being Bruce Wayne's natural son, and Jason Todd and Grayson, for that matter, just being wards. First off, what's a ward? When they say, Boy Wonder's my ward, basically it's a foster parent. It just means court appointed it somebody other than the parents to watch after the child. Which is weird, right? For a random single rich man to, be the parent or guardian of somebody. I don't think that would swing today, to be honest with you. But moving on into this, it's kind of interesting how we're kind of getting this dynamic story, but it's also with the underlining story as well. And even in the story that she's telling, there's this villain that we don't really know that well. Of course, we address the Joker killing Jason Todd back in the day and the death of the family. So yeah, it's interesting. I like the artwork in it. I like the premise of this thing. It's kind of a story inside of a story with an underlining story. As weird as that may be. But for the most part, I'm enjoying this. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody and everybody out there. If you like complex relationships, this is probably going to be your jam right here. Alright. That was the only DC I got because I have so much Marvel. So I'm going to try to break this down for you. And all these are going to be Skottie Young covers because my wife collects Skottie Young covers. And we buy a comic book, we read a comic book here in this house. So I'm going to try to break these down for you as best I can. Let's kick it off with, of course, X-Men. This is the conclusion of the whole Krakoa and that whole thing. I was on it for a little bit, and I just wasn't jiving it. That's not to say that it was a bad story. It just kind of just got too big and too out of hand. I think I fell off right around the swords one. X swords. 10 swords or power swords or whatever it was. And that was actually kind of a letdown for me. But I did want to see the conclusion of it. And of course, they dropped it off on a cliffhanger, which is weird because we know we have a new arc that's about to happen with X-Men as it comes along. So I thought it was weird just to randomly throw it on a cliffhanger the way that it did. So will we be getting more of it? I don't know. Charles Xavier's not dead. He's awake. And he can astroplane to kind of see his final goodbyes to everybody. It was right on point with what the whole series was. I'll go that route with it. It wasn't good, wasn't bad, it just existed. Moving on. Blood Hunt tie-in, we got Wolverine. This is kind of interesting. First off, cute little cover, right? That's kind of, I'm going to just call it chibi art. If I'm wrong, please correct me down below. So, of course, we got to throw Wolverine into it, and a past relationship of an individual kind of wants him on board with the vampires now that he's a vampire. And of course, Wolverine's not having that. And then we threw in this random character from a storyline from almost 2 years ago, where a character was transformed into a vampire, even though she was a vampire hunter, and still a vampire hunter, even though she's a vampire. Killing your own, I guess. I don't know. Just not knowing what tribe you're in, I guess. Beats me. Great action. Great motion through it. This other character kind of throws off the story a little bit because they're French. The French. And this other random character that's trying to get him to join over into the vampire side, or at least get Wolverine so they can use what's in him as far as a healing factor goes for them as well. If you like heads chopping off, body parts getting slashed, it's typical savagery that you would get from Wolverine. Moving on, we get Ghost Rider Final Vengeance. I've been reading this. This has been cool. Cool cover. So yeah, our Hood character, another Hood character. Our Hood character is kind of a douchebag, but there's this belief that he's doing it for the right reasons, right? He's trying to take care of his family and make sure his estranged son goes to the best school, and he's dressing real sharp like a businessman. And, the appearance or the argument could be, he's getting his life together by doing these horrible things. And since he's doing them to bad guys, somehow that makes it okay. That is a horrible way to think. Like, it's not right. Right? Of course, the vampires are being vampires in this. They clean up his mess, but then again, they're going to overindulge a little bit. Some people he had prisoners. The vampires were like, I need a snack. And he's keeping these guys as prisoners. Whatever. He finally finds a guy that he can relate to. Another underground boss who never made himself really known. Doesn't live the life of big. He ain't popping champagne bottles. He's just taking care of his family too. Kind of relates with this character in some degree. And it's still horrible. It's still bad. Johnny Blaze finally realizes he gets explained to that the reason why the spirit of vengeance is inside of him is because he creates the balance. And Johnny Blaze comes up with the great question. I would ask it too. Why have it, period? We can just kill it. Like, exercise it and kill it. I'm done with it. So will this be the end of Ghost Rider? Of course not. It's a great comic book series. But I am interested how they would attack it. And I do want to kind of just keep following this down. Not because it's like, oh my God, so great. But because I'm just curious how it ends at this point. Alright, Spider-Man. Because, again, Skottie Young. This is interesting. I fell off of this because I didn't really care about it. And honestly, I still don't. Apparently, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, is now a Green Goblin or Spider Goblin or whatever the case may be. And to solidify this storyline, they're making him go against the Sinister Six. You may remember them. You got Sandman, Mysterio, the Vulture, Kraven, yada, 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 yada. Right, all 6 of them there. And of course, he goes and whips up on all of them because Norman Osborn sent them to him. I'm having trouble talking today, so please bear with me. I apologize. Sends him over there. There's a big battle that ensues. And for some reason, we're still Chasm. If you don't know who Chasm is, he's a clone of Peter Parker. Because clones from the Clone War that nobody really understood is still a thing today. I don't know. What do you think about Chasm? Is anybody like, yes, Chasm? Like, I don't. Nobody's saying that. As a matter of fact, most of the people that are reading Spider-Man right now that I know of, are like, this is not a good run. So definitely, if somebody out there is like, I'm liking Spider-Man right now, please, 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 please tell me. I would hate to think somebody's doing all this work and nobody's enjoying it. Next, Carnage. Carnage is exactly what you would expect Carnage to be. Blood, gore, guts, still the serial killer out there doing his thing. This one gets a little deep into the gore side of it, and that's really all Carnage ever really is. The main story in it doesn't really matter. It's just there to shock and awe you and show you what we can do in comic books. Next, Venom. I never understood why they do Venom like this. This is Venom 14. Again, another storyline that I fell off of, but we know that a symbiote war is coming in Symbiote God. So if you like this one being unlike Carnage, I should say, unlike Carnage, this is more horror focused, right? That kind of dark horror. The artwork's astounding in it. I absolutely love it. And we know that the battle's coming because of a character that we saw all the way back in like issue 3 of this run is kind of coming back, and he's kind of setting up his little army there. So Venom War is going to be in the next issue. Alright, that's it for Marvel. Let's talk about Independence. 2 books that I'm going to talk about at the same time because I missed out on Space Ghost 1, and I got 2 this week. This is great. This is setting up kind of a new origin story for the Space Ghost. Why he exists and why he has 2 random kids with him. It's still weird to me. And a monkey. And why is this monkey so important? This kind of breaks that down for you and kind of redefines the origin. I'm not going to say remake, because it's kind of similar, but I'm going to say just redefines it and makes it a little bit more modern, a little bit more, it's not realistic, it's more enticing to read. You know, how is he going to work with these 2 kids? How is he going to train these 2 kids to be better instead of, you know, just being kids that lost their parents and devastation, war, and everything else? We see some characters that you may have remembered back from Space Ghost. We're seeing a lot of those characters. So you get your nostalgia pills, you get an updated story, and it's fun. It's fun at this point. And it's a lot more adult themed than you may remember Hanna-Barbera, just to warn you. Alright, last but not least, Scarlet. So Scarlet, the whole G.I. Joe thing here with the individual stories. We've gotten Duke. We've gotten Cobra Commander, and now we're on the 3rd iteration with Scarlet, with Destro, and a bunch of other ones coming. So this one took an unusual turn. They took Scarlet, who is a trained spy type character, and they kind of put her in a relationship with Jinx. You may remember Jinx mostly from the cartoon movie, the young Asian lady who knows martial arts better when she's blindfolded. That was a thing in the 80s. Remember Blind Fury, the movie? Yeah, it's kind of dull your senses so the other ones are sharper nonsense. Right? So they were in kind of a relationship. They had to split up, but then they kind of had like these little symbols and ways of communicating. It was overcomplicated for no other reason than to justify them 2 in a relationship. Truth is, you shouldn't even have to justify it. They're together. It's a thing. And then somebody's be like, but in the movie, she liked Falcon. I tell you, it's 2024. You knew this was going to happen. You knew that one G.I. Joe character was going to be part of the LGBT community. And with it happening in June, it just makes sense. I'm not judging it in any way. It's actually pretty cool. The reason for their relationship to exist and why it has to break up. And then her having to come in and save her as she's in the clan. We also, for nostalgia pills, for all you G.I. Joe nerds out there like myself, we get our first appearance in Storm Shadow in this issue, who just kind of shows up at the last minute. It's good. It's a good story either way. So that's my comic book haul and review. What did you pick up? What did you read? What did you think of it? What am I missing? Let's have those dialogues down in the comments down below. And other than that, I really don't have anything else. Oh, Heroes Con. Yeah, if you're coming to Heroes Con, I want to know. Because I'm bringing, let's see, last year I brought patches. I think I'll bring something this year for people. I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.